YouTube, how's it going? The GOAT House is back. Today I'm going over my top 10 NFL free agents for the offseason. Also going over most likely landing spots / best fits for all these free agents here. So really excited about this one. Loads of this type of content on the channel and definitely a bunch more to come. We're covering free agency, trades, the draft, and the Super Bowl. We'll actually be having a live stream later this week going over our Super Bowl picks, our awards for the year, and we'll do some Q&A and a little bit more. So turn notifications on so you don't miss that or any of our other videos. And then follow our Twitter. Live news, rumors, updates, and breaking news on there. Always talking with you guys. It's on your screen. There's also a link pinned in the comments for that Twitter. Also links down below for our sponsors, Walk the Mock, GLD Shop, Liquid IV. The GLD Shop chain that I'm wearing today is the Kansas City Chiefs. They have other NFL teams and a lot more cool stuff. Links pinned in the comments. My number 10 NFL free agent for this offseason, Jamel Dean, the cornerback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's going to be 26 for the 2023 NFL season. So some of these guys in this video are not that age it shows yet, but they will be for the upcoming season. But we see the best landing spots and we see some more top fits. I could sit here and list all the teams that possibly could be interested. I think it's kind of lame. We try to narrow it down a little bit here. So Jamel Dean, well, I think the teams, what teams am I looking for? Dean, more of a zone coverage corner, specifically what he did well with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, cover 3, what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did a lot of. So we're kind of looking for fits in that category, but he got a good young corner here that has been really good attacking the ball. He's showing off his athleticism, attacking the ball underneath, a lot of pass deflections as well. Some durability issues coming out of Auburn. He's missed some time here and there, but I don't think it's nearly as much of an issue as we thought it would be. But definitely could go back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, one of the better landing spots there. Obviously, they are in a little bit of a hole cap space wise, but they're going to be able to clear some money to be able to get guys like this possibly back. But maybe since they paid Carlton Davis last year, their other corner, some good money. Maybe they don't want to pay 2 corners a whole lot of money. Maybe they chose Carlton Davis and they want to kind of work on developing some other guys or adding somebody else that's cheaper. That's definitely possible. I think the Falcons in here because they're a little tricky actually, but they definitely can use another corner to pair with AJ Terrell. They have a lot of cap space, so that's good. But last year, the defense coordinator was Dean Pease, legendary defense coordinator. He retired, and they actually ran quite a bit of cover 3 there last year, so I see an instant fit, because that's where I think Dean fits best. But Pease is gone. They bring in a Saints guy, Ryan Nielsen. Were they looking for a guy that was kind of? I could see them, trying to continue where Dean Pease left off. Definitely possible, or he can run, a Saints type defense, which is a lot of 2-man under, which may not fit Dean the best. So the Falcons are a little tricky, but a ton of cap space. They may try to keep somewhat of a similar defense as last year, which Dean would fit. The Texans bringing in DeMeco Ryans, which DeMeco Ryans runs a bit of zone coverage, and I could see a fit there for sure. They could be in a market of finding one next to Derek Stingley because he's still on the rookie contract, obviously, so they could afford to pay one here and create a very good cornerback duo. Some other fits, the Seahawks, another zone coverage team. More so cover 2. They could try to open it up to cover 3, and they could pair a guy in a decent amount of cap space. They could look to pair a guy like Dean. Doesn't have to be Dean, with a guy like Tariq Woolen, or they can roll with the other young guys as well. Michael Jackson looked pretty decent. Kobe Bryant as well. They could just roll with those guys. Cardinals, it's tough because we don't know who their coach will be at the time of recording this, so what type of defense will they run? They could be in the market for a corner. And the Raiders, who were more of a man coverage team last year, but they're trying to fix that defense so they could adjust a little bit and just try to get the best players, and again, adjust their concepts, based on the players that they have. If you're confused that I didn't list another team that needs a corner, it's most likely it's because I just don't see the fit. Again, I like Dean with zone coverage defense. Specifically, I like cover 3 for him because that's where he played well. But it doesn't necessarily mean he's guaranteed to go to a team that's really going to go crazy with the cover 3. And there's teams changing things constantly from one season to the next. We see that every year. So Dean does come in at number 10, young cornerback there. I will say, be a little hesitant to spend huge money on cornerbacks because the cornerback draft class is pretty damn loaded too. So keep that in mind. Number 9 is going to be SAQUON Barkley And with these rankings, I know some people might get confused. Some people maybe expect it to be just player rankings, skill rankings, how they played this year. It's not that at all. It's free agency rankings. Their talent factors in, their age kind of factors in, their value, how much they could ask, what's the outlook look like, how would they be in the future. So all those things are definitely factored in here. But Saquon Barkley, who had a fantastic season, comes in at number 9. Giants running back, going to be 26 this year. There's not a long list of teams that desperately need a running back or obviously need a running back. And the Giants would like him back, but he turned down, it was rumored that he turned down an extension offer from them. So maybe he wants to test free agency or just wants a little bit more. I've always said that you should not extend running backs before free agency. I think their value ends up dropping a little bit. You can end up saving money. It's kind of backfired in teams in the past when they sign running backs before free agency. So I would recommend the Giants allow him to get free agency, which maybe some fans don't want, but I still think the Giants probably the most likely landing spot. Throw the Ravens in there as well. They have a number of backs, but they could look to get better at the position, and they have a decent amount of cap space, but they do have to spend it, obviously, as well, already on Roquan Smith and Lamar Jackson. And then the Bears, who have the league's most cap space. David Montgomery's a free agent. It's just how are they going to value the running back position? A young running back that they could look to add. And there's really isn't a lot of obvious teams that could afford him, will pay him, etc. The Chargers could be kind of a wild card team. Bringing in Kellen Moore, they may value the 1-2 punch at the running back position. Could look for more of. I know Austin Eckler's great. But they could look for a guy that can also handle a load on the inside. And the Falcons, which very well could be set with Patterson and Algier. The Eagles, it could be weird seeing him going from the Giants to the Eagles, but Sanders a free agent, and they could just be looking to get better at the position. And then the Panthers with Frank Reich there kind of getting a big-time runner. But he's going to be pricey, so it's probably going to have to be a team with a lot of cap space, because a team with just enough cap space isn't going to just go spend their whole free agency on a running back. I don't really see that. So it's got to be a team with the need, team with the cap space, a team willing to pay running back, which is kind of tricky to figure out. Not a lot of those teams, so be interesting free agency for Saquon Barkley, but very well could end up back with the Giants. And honestly, it could end up happening before free agency, which a rule of mine is I've been saying that you don't do that. You're overspending by doing that. So I'd predict him going back to the Giants, but I think it would be ideal to limit the number of years on that contract. Because he's had durability issues in the past. He's great, super talented, and then running backs as it is don't last super long. So talented that he had to be in the top 10. It's a little scary with the running backs, though. Number 8 is going to be Geno Smith, which is a tricky one as well, because he's going to be 32, which quarterback prime, not really anymore, but used to be in that age, and he played phenomenal this year. But maybe he's just a lot more valuable to the Seattle Seahawks than anyone else. Other teams could be going, hey, he's probably not going to be as good with us as the Seahawks. Seahawks figured something out to revive his career. So that could drop his value, meaning maybe he isn't the most valuable free agent available. But he was fantastic this year. He figured something out. Even when he played a little bit last year, he looked pretty solid as well. But he figured something out this year. Was very impressive, obviously. So I thought he deserved a spot in the top 10. He can definitely, quarterback, the important position that it is, can definitely help some teams here. But I think the most likely landing spot's got to be the Seattle Seahawks there, going back where he fits. I feel like he's got to want to be there, and they definitely want to have him. And again, I think the Seahawks will probably value him more than any other team would. But the Panthers could be looking for a quarterback to fit Frank Reich's system, and do they want to mess around with the guy that's not really proven, or with the rookie that, again, not really proven? They could go for a guy like Geno Smith. And the Saints looking to upgrade the quarterback position, could see the fit there as well. But I think very, very likely back with the Seattle Seahawks. Tom Brady retired, so the Raiders might be looking for somebody else. So that's another option. The Buccaneers, again, Tom Brady retired, so they could be looking for someone else. And the Jets and the Colts could use a quarterback. Could be, the Jets could be looking for somebody else like an Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo. Colts could be looking to add a rookie perhaps in the draft, so maybe more likely that. So again, more likely end up back with the Seahawks. The Panthers and the Saints were the next best options, in my opinion. Number 7, another running back. It's rare for me to have running backs this high on a free agency ranking list, because there's other positions that are valuable, and it's a little scary to pay a running back a lot of money. But I do have We talked about Saquon Barkley, and I do have Josh Jacobs on the list as well. And I think right away, people are going to say you have Josh Jacobs ranked ahead of Saquon Barkley. People will question that. I think today, right now, Saquon Barkley's got a little bit more skill. They're both very skilled, but Barkley's probably got a little bit more skill, a little more talent, even though both extremely talented. But you factor in so much more when it comes to free agents. You know, what they could be in the future, and you see Jacobs is a year younger than Barkley. Durability, you know, that's been an issue for Barkley in the past, so you feel a little safer giving Jacobs big contract if you're going to give a running back a big contract. And Jacobs, you know, Barkley had that talent. What he displayed this year was phenomenal, but we saw that at Penn State. You know, we knew he had that in him. And Jacobs, we knew he was very talented, but what he displayed this year was significant improvement and domination at times. So I think he's just getting going. And remember, he wasn't used a whole lot at Alabama. There was a crowded running back room at one point or at all times. You know, so I think he's just getting going. So this is a type of running back, the rare type of running back where I feel okay giving a longer deal to, because you see all these other longer deals, you know, all of a sudden the running back just declines after like 2 years, and it's like you're stuck with them for 2 more years or 3 more years. Jacobs, I think he's just getting started. I think he should be a durable guy going forward. He's only 25, you know, for this year, so I think that's big time. I think he fits the Ravens offense very well, which we're still waiting to see who they hire as offense coordinator, but I still think they'll have a lot of that, you know, that power running scheme still with Lamar, as long as Lamar Jackson's back as well, or whoever it is, you know. So Jacobs, you know, with the Raiders, Josh McDaniel, you know, a lot of the similar running concepts there is what the Ravens have run in the past. And again, they could switch things up a little bit, but I don't think so, you know, since Greg Roman's not there. But so Jacobs should really, scheme-wise, fit that very, very well, and they get a durable running back that could be very dominant for them. So just an upgrade, in my opinion. And they have some other solid backs, you know, but they've had durability issues, and Jacobs is just better. Eagles. You know, the Eagles could let Sanders go and just get better at the position. Could definitely see that. And he could very well go back to the Raiders because he fits so well. But, you know, McDaniels, Ziegler, are they fans of paying extending running backs? You know, the Patriot way says no, but he was so good for them last year that just may be. They did decline his option, so that was kind of a sign that they will not be having him stay longer. But maybe they changed their mind because of how good he played. Throw in some other teams that could grab a running back, you know, Falcons, Chargers, Bears. The Dolphins could fit Mike McDaniel's scheme a little bit. But I really like some of these other teams we have up as the best landing spots here. I think he would be dominant on the Ravens. We'll see if they go for it. They have some other things to worry about, I suppose. But this is that running back, that rare type running back where you feel a little bit better about giving a longer contract too. I think Barkley would be more expensive, which kind of makes Jacobs more valuable to me in something like this. But rare the case that there's a kind of a safer, somewhat of a safer running back for free agency, and there's a lot of good ones. We talk about Barkley. We can talk about, you know, outside the top 10. There's a list of guys, obviously. But Jacobs definitely the safer one of the bunch, in my opinion. But he will be a little pricey. So how much do you want to spend at the running back position? Curious to see what happens with Jacobs this offseason. Number 6 is going to be JAVON Hargrave, who's been an absolute monster. I mean, he was with the Steelers as well. More of just a traditional nose tackle, but he was very impressive with the Steelers. Then he goes to the Eagles, and he's been dominant, especially, you know, still stopping the run, but getting after the quarterback as well. Super productive. He is going to be 30, which he's still going to play very, very well at the age of 30. But, you know, is he for everybody at that age? You know, some teams that have a lot of money, you know, somewhere in that the rebuild stages, maybe looking for a younger guy because of the defensive line group for free agency is very, very good. But I like him going back to the Eagles. Definitely a strong possibility. They liked him a lot there. I'm sure he likes it there. They're playing for the Super Bowl, obviously, next weekend. You know, and they definitely could look to get him back. The Raiders definitely need some interior defensive line help to help out guys like Max Crosby and Chandler Jones. And here's a guy that I think Patrick Graham and that Raiders defense would really, really like, and they have some good cap space. So the Raiders, definitely a team I'm looking at. And the Lions, another one. The Lions you have a bunch of young guys in that defense. They've drafted very, very well. And they have, again, some young guys in the interior defensive line. Lee McNeil, who's more your traditional nose tackle, and a couple other guys on they'll probably move on from Brockers, I'd say, which hasn't really been playing a whole lot. I could see them adding a plug-and-play guy like Hargrave in there to boosting that the defense in general, but the defensive line, and help your run-stopping game, and getting some more pass rush from the interior as well. So, and they have a decent amount of cap space, not loads of it, but they have a decent amount. So I do like the Lions as well for Javon Hargrave. The Texans, D'Amico Ryans could be looking for a stud on the defensive. Maybe you'll probably look for a couple studs in the defensive line. Decent amount of cap space there. The Browns definitely could use Hargrave's services. Very tight on cap space at the moment, but they would be interested. They're going to have to clear a little bit. The Bears definitely need defensive line help. They have the league's most cap space. They might be interested in more of a younger guy. We can talk about that guy not that there's one specific guy, but we can talk about somebody like that in a little bit. So I could see the Bears being interested, but him being 30 may go for the younger guy. And the Cardinals definitely could use another piece up there on the defensive line to help them out for sure, in a decent amount of cap space. So Hargrave very well could be back with the Eagles, but I do love the Raiders and Lions for him. I like the Browns for him a lot as well, but they got to work through some things first. Very tight on cap space. Eagles, Raiders, Lions make a ton of sense for my number 6 free agent in Javon Hargrave, who's been extremely productive, extremely impressive, and we'll see him in the Super Bowl. Number 5 is going to be Jessie Bates. You guys know I'm a Jessie Bates guy, the free safety from the Cincinnati Bengals, age 26, so still very young. Big-time playmaker in the back end, and an interesting situation because the Bengals drafted Daxton Hill from Michigan last year, who was more of a slot guy, but had some experience at free safety as well. And you just got the vibes, you got the feeling, and they almost kind of hinted at it as a way that he could be Bates' replacement. Remember, Von Bell, the strong safety, is a free agent as well. So interesting situation. But the Bengals could very well bring Bates back. Hey, that's the scary thing. The Bengals got cap space this offseason. That's a very good team to have cap space. And the 3 teams I have listed as best landing spots that could be pretty good teams, and they have a lot of cap space. But the Bengals could very well just hey, we'd like him back. Maybe Daxton Hill doesn't fit that spot as well as we thought. Let's get Bates back. We'll play him somewhere else. Hill, that is. So it's definitely possible. They have the money to spend on him for sure. He's going to be pretty expensive, though, obviously. It felt weird, the negotiations last year. It felt like they were way off. So the Bengals may be a little hesitant to spend it. I like the Patriots a lot. We'll see what happens with McCourty, maybe nearing retirement. He is a free safety. But I like the Patriots a lot. I think another thing about Bates too, he's a single high free safety. He's a playmaker in the back end, reading the field. It's a single high free safety. The Bengals mix it up a ton, which Bates is good at, and it works both ways there with the Bengals with Bates with Bengals, obviously. So he could still fit that, obviously, but this is a single high free safety. The Patriots run as much. They run as much or more cover one than anyone, not just last year. Over the last 10 since Belichick's been there, no one's ran it more. So I think a phenomenal fit. I think would be a big time playmaker on that defense. So I absolutely love the fit there. And we'll throw the Falcons in there as well. Could be in the market for a safety. I know they have some young ones in there, but they could get a lot better with a guy like Bates. They're bringing in a Saints guy for the defensive coordinator spot, so could run some man coverage there. It's a possibility. You don't really need to be running man coverage to have Bates, though, but I see the fit as well. Other top fits, Cowboys, who run a lot of cover one as well. They have some pieces there. They have Hooker that kind of plays that role a bit, but would just be so good getting his hands on the ball in that cover one scheme of the Cowboys, who did mix it up a little bit this year. The Jets will throw in there as well, but they could just roll with, Joyner and Whitehead back there. The Panthers, which they have Chin, strong safety, kind of a unique type of strong safety. They could look to add a playmaker at the free safety position. And the Eagles as well, with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, they moved around quite a bit, but sometimes he's around that box/slot area, and they maybe have Epps or Blankenship back there. They could get better with a guy like Bates. But I really like the Patriots and the Bengals. Mainly the Falcons could throw in there as well. I think it'd be great with the Cowboys. I think it's a little less likely for it to actually happen, though. There's not a ton of teams in the market for a single high free safety, though. Well, they could be, but being in the market and be willing to spend what it's going to take to get Bates. So there's not a long list of teams that kind of fits that situation, that scenario, that situation there. So I don't think there's a long list of teams that may be that interested in Jessie Bates, even though he's a phenomenal player there. So he's my number 5 guy there. My number 4 guy is going to be Tremaine Edmunds, which I'm banking on upside. Again, some people may have expected me just to rank the top 10 free agents based on their skill right now. That's really not how it works. Edmunds, who had a pretty damn good year, I think he has a ton of upside. I was very high on him out of Virginia Tech coming out, but I even mentioned then that he's a raw prospect. It's his best play is going to come, somewhat well into that future there. Just, has the traits, and has already some good production at that point in play. Tons of upside. He's the Bills linebacker, only going to be 25 for this year as well. Boy, I like some of these fits for a guy like Tremaine Edmunds. I'm not so sure he goes back. It is a little tricky because the Bills drafted him, and when you draft a guy like that, this is an upside guy. This is a guy where his best play is going to be down the line. We're going to, take those traits, get the most out of him, and they saw him improve this year. He improved, in coverage and just all around. And you see he's a good linebacker. So when the Bills we got to stick with this guy. We got to keep him around. A little tight in cap space, but they could try to bring him back here. I don't think the franchise tag, because the linebacker franchise, it's all jacked up because it kind of factors in pass rush linebackers, 3-4 outside linebackers, I should say. So the franchise tag ends up being insanely expensive. So I don't think the Bills do that. I could see him going elsewhere. I would actually because remember the Bills ran a 4-3 defense, and he played inside in that. I would really like Tremaine Edmunds in a 3-4 defense playing the inside linebacker role. I would love that. I love Mike Tomlin's Pittsburgh Steelers for Tremaine Edmunds. Fitting him in there with Miles Jack. They kind of had a linebacker issue. Devin Bush is a free agent. I kind of like him in it at 4-3. I think he's been playing the wrong scheme, so in my opinion, so I like Edmunds, and his brother happens to be there as well at the safety position, but is going to be a free agent as well from the same draft class, the Edmunds brothers. But I would really like him in that Steelers defense. I think Mike Tomlin would get the most out of him. I like him in the Giants defense as well. They need inside linebacker help big time to have that defense take that next step. And there's some connections there as well. The Giants GM, Joe Shane, coming from the Buffalo Bills, and then Brian Daboll, he's an offensive guy, but he's coming from the Buffalo Bills as well, and they have a lot of cap space. They have a big need at the middle linebacker position. I think he'd fit Martindale's scheme, and here you go. You got a guy with Tremaine Edmunds here. I like it a lot. So, and I like some of the other fits as well. The Texans, D'Amico Ryans needs to improve those linebackers to get his defense the best, because they had Fred Warner, they had Dre Greenlaw, Al Shire, which the Texans could bring him in. He's a free agent. So they could look to add a big-time linebacker. The Lions also can do that, like the Lions for Edmunds a lot. I think, this could be a Dan Campbell type of guy here. The Commanders definitely could upgrade the linebacker position. I think they'll like Edmunds. Seahawks adding somebody with Brooks. And then the Broncos definitely need linebacker help here. We'll see who their defense coordinator is going to be. So there's a lot of teams that I think really would like Edmunds and like his upside. He's going to get paid more than people think. He's got, again, ton of upside here. I like a lot of teams. I like some of those teams that I have listed, under more top fits, a lot. But I really like, he could very well be back with the Bills. I really like the Steelers and the Giants for him. I really like Steelers and the Giants for Tremaine Edmunds, an upside free agent here. So really excited to see where he lands and how much he goes for. We're on to the big top 3. I got a defensive tackle at number 3. DARON Payne, only going to be 26 years old. He had a breakout year, which is breakout the right word because he's already kind of broken out. He's been good pretty much his entire career. But he really broke out last year, very, very productive, especially getting that interior pressure, especially getting after the quarterback speed. We know he can stop the run at a high level, but he was doubled up a bit too. We can compare to a guy like Hargrave, which Hargrave has been a little bit better. But again, why Payne's ranked a little higher is, 26 years old. He's just getting going. He was doubled up more than Hargrave as well. So if you can get Payne on single, a single guy, he can do even more damage as well. So just depending on the team there. Interesting situation because the Commanders felt like going into the season, like this was going to be it for Payne. It just really felt like that. Could they trade him? Could they ride it out for one more year? They didn't want to pay him the big money that he wanted on the extension. They've been bringing in some guys to possibly be the future replacement. So it kind of felt like this could be it for the Commanders and Payne, but he had an absolute monster year, and that was a very solid defense for sure. So they could definitely want him back. That's definitely a possibility, but it wouldn't shock me if he wasn't back. And it might shock some other people because of how good he was with that Commanders team, but it felt like, they were preparing for life without Payne. Is that still the case? Chicago Bears, really good landing spot, because one, they have the league's most cap space, so they're willing to, we don't know if they're willing to spend quite yet, but they should be willing to spend something, and they need defensive lineman pretty damn bad. Eberflus, his defense, they'll value the interior defensive line spot for sure. Remember he had DeForest Buckner over there with the Colts, and that was kind of the main piece that the entire defensive line. Payne could be that guy. The Bears are definitely in the rebuild stages. He fits that. He's 26, worth a shot, a long-term contract here, so the Bears make a lot of sense. And the Raiders desperately need interior defensive line. We talked about it with Hargrave. So they should be in the market for a guy like Payne, plugging him in there on the inside of Max Crosby and Chandler Jones. Lions are, just as good of a fit as the Raiders as well. Raiders was kind of debating myself up there, with that one. And then you throw in some other teams, the Texans, the Browns, which the Browns, might have to clear some cap space as well. And the Cardinals can use a defensive lineman, as well. And on to the top two. And again, Twitter subs/super followers will be getting their top 50 plus more plus the landing spots there and a lot more content. So go over our Twitter, check that out. There's a bonus option that you could subscribe. It used to be called super followers, but to get the more bonus content. But Orlando Brown is going to be number 2 on the list. The Chiefs left tackle. Just the value of the position, and you got a good young tackle here that is continuing to get better. He's a little inconsistent in terms of the pass blocking. Very, very good run blocking tackle. Just an experienced, good piece here that it can continue to get better. Teams are desperate for tackles or just offensive line help in general. So he's 2 because he's number 2 because he's very good. But because the value of the position and what teams are looking for here, he's going to be number 2. The Chiefs actually have a decent amount of cap space for as good as they are there, believe it or not. So I would imagine they try to get Orlando Brown back. He's tricky in terms of how much is he worth, how much do you pay him, because he could be asked to be paid at or around the highest paid tackle. That's a little much, but again, you're paying off what they could be in the future too at the same time. But I do think the Chiefs are the favorites to get him back. The Patriots definitely looking for a tackle. They have a lot of cap space. The offensive line was kind of a disaster this year. So the Patriots will definitely be interested in Orlando Brown if he's available. And the Tennessee Titans had a disaster in the offensive line, specifically the left tackle with Dennis Daly going there, and Taylor Lewan being injured, and he's likely to be cut as well. And Orlando Brown just really fits the Titans. He fits the Patriots as well. He's number 1. He's an insane run blocking tackle, and that's what those teams want to do there. The Bengals, very close to putting the Bengals in that top 3 as well. They're right there with them because they could use that left tackle. They have the cap space. They went against Brown last week. They know how good he is, how good he can be. So they could definitely be interested. He is more of a run blocking tackle than pass blocking tackle. So they may, they're insisting on the pass there. So maybe I still think they'll be interested though. I still think they'll be interested. They're probably the 4th most likely landing spot. Colts could be looking for that left tackle in the future. The Jets as well. George Fant, a free agent, and the Steelers could be looking for an upgrade as well. So there's some serious fits there. It seems every team listed should be interested. They should call him or his agent there if he makes it to free agency, not tagged again or anything like that. But I really, really like the fits. The Chiefs, Patriots, Titans, Bengals really stand out at first there. Titans are in a hole in terms of the cap space, you may notice right now, but they have a lot of easy ways to not only get out of that, but to have a decent amount of cap space. So look out for that, Tennessee Titans. There's some teams that are sitting there in the negative, which it's hard to predict them to actually get guys like this because they don't have the space yet. And there's some teams that are kind of in a similar situation, like the Titans, but they have easy ways to get out of that, just your normal ways, just cutting guys that they probably will cut. So they actually might have a decent amount of cap space when it's all said and done. And then number one's got to be Lamar Jackson. Shouldn't really be a surprise, but they do. They could franchise tag him at any moment. They could be doing it right now as we heard the other day, they are expected to do so. So they could franchise tag him and he could be off the market. He could be on the trade market then if they don't reach a deal while he's on the franchise tag. I'm still expecting him back with the Ravens, but as of right now, he is the number one free agent, 26-year-old quarterback with MVP-like play. And, could Pat throw the ball, could work on throwing the ball a little bit better, but he can throw the ball. Some people disagree. He is a good passer. He hasn't had the best receivers out there as well. I like the Ravens, Falcons, and Panthers as the best fits there. Teams in the market for a quarterback. The Falcons have a lot of cap space. Other teams, that are pretty good fits or could be in the market for a quarterback: Titans, Raiders, Commanders, Colts, Jets. But he's probably franchise tagged either way. He should be back with the Ravens. So this is not really the most exciting one to talk about here because there's a lot of the other guys we talked about, like, I can see him going here. I love the fit there, but he is the number one free agent, so that's where he's at there. I'm going to do the same video with some sleeper free agents. We do that every year. 10 of my favorite sleeper free agents that aren't getting maybe enough love, and they could be really good with their new teams or whoever signs them, and we'll talk about the landing spots for them. So we'll have videos like this like crazy. We'll have predictions right at the franchise tag. We'll predict franchise tags. We'll grade those, and then we'll have predictions for free agency right at free agency, and we'll have grades as free agency is going. That's my favorite time of the year. Like multiple free agency grades videos coming out as these signings are happening. So, and we have the live news, rumors, and updates on our Twitter. So there's some really good free agents that didn't make the cut. There's reasons for it. Maybe they're just not quite top 10 compared to other guys, or maybe they're just not as valuable to other teams as their team. Possibly other factors like that. Our super followers on Twitter look at the top 50 with landing spots as well. And a lot more content coming, now and during the off season. So follow us on Twitter. There's a link pinned in the comments for that. Very important. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn notifications on. We have a live stream coming up, so you don't want to miss that or our other videos. But that wraps this one up. Really enjoyed doing this. Thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye.